Episode number 168.
And a lot of my customers have that vision as well, but it's often polluted or clouded by what I call the curse of knowledge. They know so much about their business and they spend so much investing in their software and their operations and their people and their process that they forget what the number one problem is that their thing helps their customers solve.
Welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff, where we talk about life, dreams, social media, and business.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff. Folks, I'm fired up today because we are going to make your presentations pop with my man and our featured guest, Greg Rosner. Greg, are you ready to be real?
I was born ready to be real, Travis. Good to talk to you.
It's my man. And my man Greg has seen the future, and it is good because my man Greg is a presentation futurist and focused on development and design. And his business, he is the founder of Pitch Kitchen, and they're on a mission to take bad B2B sales presentations and turn them into conversations. So how's your day going today, my man?
It is going great, Travis. Great to meet you, man.
That is awesome. So you're normally on in New York area, right? And then now you said you're out on the West Coast meeting some customers out here.
Yes, meeting some customers. And actually, in an hour and a half from now, I'm having lunch with one of my idols.
Really?
Yes. That I'm going to cry when I have lunch with him.
Oh my God.
He is the founder of Wired magazine.
Oh wow.
His name is Kevin Kelly. He's also like the premier futurist of Silicon Valley, having lunch with billionaires and people that are making the future of all the technology that we're enjoying. So I'm just so excited to have lunch with him. I'm here in Pacifica because you called me out as a presentation futurist, and I don't really know what that means, but I'm inspired by the books that he has written, one of which is called The Inevitable. Have you heard of it before?
I've not. The Inevitable. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, so his book called The Inevitable, the 12 forces that are going to shape the next 30 years, is a book that came out a couple years ago. And he spoke at South by Southwest about the book, and is very much a thought leader, as they say, in technology.
Absolutely. And also building a community that cares about your content. I mean, Wired has been around for a while now.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's amazing, dude. Are you pumped up or what? Are you jazzed up? You ready to make this happen?
Yes, but that's lunch. But now we're talking to you, Travis.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, hey, dude, that's awesome. I mean, that's the part of the Be Real Show is there's different things going on in your day. And I always like to hear what you have going on, because obviously on a day like this, you're probably pretty jazzed up yourself. So
yeah, I am.
That is fabulous, my man. So giving our listeners a little insight, we've given them a little insight, but tell me more about Pitch Kitchen. I'm really curious into this. I was looking at your LinkedIn resume, and I see that you have some history with Prezi, which is an awesome presentation platform. And what made you hop into the world of entrepreneurship and become the founder of Pitch Kitchen?
Yeah. So real quickly, I mean, have you ever seen a bad sales presentation, Travis?
Yes. Too many.
Okay. So then just characterize for me what's bad about the sales presentation that you've seen.
Honestly, a lot of times it's just a ton of bullet points and it's kind of a confusing text overload. That's what I tend to get.
Yeah, for sure. And I keep on saying for sure because I think the osmosis of California is hitting me here. But that's why I started Pitch Kitchen 4 years ago. I was working in sales, had a successful sales career selling translation services. And that's, I don't know if you know what that is, but you're selling words essentially, like Spanish for 16 cents a word, very commodity type of business.
Mm-hmm.
But I sold millions of dollars worth of that services to companies like Apple and Texas Instruments. So I did well in sales, but the presentations that I got from marketing, they just sucked.
Right.
I mean, just as you said they were. Bullet points on white backgrounds, almost brochureware that told a story all about how great we are. And I knew that this is just not working for me and my team. So I started a side hustle, developing sales presentations for people I knew and businesses. And there came the day where I made more money from that than my day job. And so quit my job, started Pitch Kitchen. And now I've got a team of 4 full-time and 6 freelance folks.
That's awesome. That's a dream, my man, right? I mean, being the business owner now, like I love that you mentioned that too, because so many people, they think that they're just going to go right into a business, but you side hustled this business until it became more profit or revenue than your current job.
Yes.
That's the reality. That's truly how you become a successful business, because to think you're just going to run out there with pitch kitchen without having any kind of traction in the beginning, that might be tough for those first few years. Now year 4 is different because you're more established, you've built customers, you've got testimonials, you're networking, and, it's a lot different. But year 1, I'm sure if you didn't side hustle and do it as a, kind of a side gig until it paid off, until, it really replaced the revenue you were making in your sales job. I mean,
yeah.
Too many entrepreneurs, I think, go for the dream and they forget the fact that you got to still survive in this world.
And I think too many don't go for the dream.
Well, that's true too.
Because they have mortgages to pay and kids' tuition to
that's
pay.
That's true too.
And it's just a hard situation. I memean, I have a couple of kids now, in college, and when I was working for the man, so to speak, I had a lot of fear to jump out and do my own thing, and I had no other option than just to do it on the side.
That's awesome, though, that you have turned this side hustle into a thriving business, because I think obviously more and more business owners and marketing officers, people that are pitching and presenting their product and brand and tools and apps and software, and so many different people out there obviously have a pitch deck. So where is the first place that a customer would start? Say they're not ready quite yet to use your services. Maybe they're still planning, and this is maybe the first time they've even heard about a service like this, but we'll definitely put the your business in the show notes. But where would be the first place they start? Say they're trying to do it on their own, my man Greg. Say they're trying to figure out, how can I make this sales presentation better?
Yeah. So if they're trying to make their sales presentation better, they first have to think what the purpose is of that sales presentation, right? What is the purpose of it? And a lot of people think a pitch deck is like, oh, let me just create something really awesome and just send it to them, and that will be like enough to get business. But it's never enough. I mean, you send something to someone, they don't even open it.
Right.
So pitch decks, no matter how beautiful they are, don't do anything. So instead of making a pitch deck, if you want to send something to someone, I just recommend create a really compelling website that is something that your customers, prospects can go to really understand that you get their problem and how you're going to help them solve that problem. So pitch decks, I think, are the thing of the past, unless you need to send, even for investor pitch decks, modern pitch decks that you want to send to investors are web pages that are password protected.
Got you.
Instead of actually sending an attachment. That's still so old school. I think the modern way of sending pitch decks is sending people to a password protected web page. So if the purpose of your presentation is just to get information in people's hands, then the best way to do that is through the web. However, if the purpose of your presentation is to influence someone or get someone to change their mind, you need to do that in a conversation. So that's a presentation that you give. That's not a presentation that you send. Does that make sense, Travis?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people out there. Obviously, we're probably listening. It's a busy world. We got lots of things going on. So, just send this off and see what happens. And you're absolutely right. I mean, most of the time, people aren't going to even open it.
Right.
So it's like, why would you spend all this time trying to nurture this lead and try to, develop your business and try to spend all this money in advertising if you're not even going to talk them through the conversation, like you're saying in this presentation?
Right. So throughout my sales career, I know just intuitively what a great sales or great buying discussion looks like. Like, I want to map it out on the board for you. It has fundamentally 3 parts. And my intuition and my experience is backed up recently by Gong.io research that has looked at what winning sales conversations, winning demos, insanely persuasive demos look like. What do they look like if you were to map it out visually on a board about what's the beginning, middle, and end of that conversation? So I'm all about, from my experience and study of Gong.io's research, confirming and validating what I know works in these principles of great sales presentations. I have this blueprint, a framework for insanely persuasive sales presentations. And it does have three parts, and it does dive down into details based on what the conversation is about. So it's not a presentation like a TED Talk, which, by the way, are great to watch, but they don't. If I were to ask you, you like TED Talks, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Very
However,
interesting.
however, like if I asked you, have you changed your behavior or done anything different in your life because of watching a TED Talk?
That's a good question.
So most people would say no to that. So the difference between a presentation like a TED Talk and a sales presentation is that a sales presentation needs to inspire action, behavior change. You're actually calling to action the person you're presenting to do something differently from what they've done before. So that's why a presentation that we design and the three-part framework that we've got really helps people have powerful presentations that are really what I call structured conversations.
That's awesome. And what would you say is the first step in that process? We won't maybe give them all three, but at least the first step into the conversation.
It's empathizing with the person you're talking to or the people that you're talking to around their problem. Really understanding what's most important to them, what that problem looks like to them, and what it means if they were to stay living in that problem forever and not change. And I think too many, and this is backed up by the research from Gong.io, that too many bad sales reps talk about the possibilities of the future and solutions and change. And those are the bad sellers. The good sellers talk about just status quo and talk about what it would be like to just keep going the way you're going. And how's that working for you?
Gotcha.
And that's the first stage in a sales presentation is check in with, validate, understand, itemize, and clarify what your current state is, what your current state looks like. In any play, in any show, in any story, the hero of that story is where they're at. They're living on Tatooine, and that's Luke Skywalker. And they have a problem. And your customer has problems too. And in fact, you as Obi-Wan, if I were to use the story metaphor, and I use story because we're all wired for story.
Right.
And sales presentations are really the great ones, really involve yourself in your customer's story and their customer's journey. But you are not the hero of that story. Too many freaking salespeople think that they are the hero and they've got God's gift to earth with their fancy pants solution. But we all know, Travis, that nobody cares about you and your fancy solution. People care about their problems, what they're trying to accomplish, because if you're presenting to people, they are the hero of the story. They're the one that need to change. They're the ones that need to transform from their current state to the future state. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen so many different, like you said, slide decks or presentations that they only focus on how this solution is so much better instead of, like you said, empathizing with the prospective customer and then making them look like the hero, right?
Well, not just making them look like, actually that help them become the hero.
They are the hero.
They are the hero. They are the person, they are the company that is suffering today because they can't do what they want to do. They're suffering with shitty technology. They're not invoicing as much as they want. They're not getting what they need. They're too slow, too manual, too whatever. So they are the hero of the story. And so your role in your sales presentation, if we were to continue with this story idea, you are the Obi-Wan. You are the Dumbledore. You're the one that's been there before and that you understand their problem better than they understand their problem because you've helped hundreds of people, lots of other organizations deal with the same problem. And the depth to which you understand their problem in the presentation really shows your credibility and your insight and gives them comfort to know that if they buy whatever it is that you're selling, your magic wand, your lightsaber, whatever it is you're selling, that if they buy that and follow your advice, that they're going to be able to get to where they want to go.
That is very true. Yeah, I love that. I'm just writing down some notes here. So then also I have a curious question. Is there a sweet spot for the number of slides that you should have in your presentation or the length of time you should be presenting?
So Gong.io also has research about this, but there's 17-minute sweet spot for
Ooh, okay.
the duration of a presentation, but I think it depends on how many people are involved and how much back and forth there is.
Right.
But in terms of number of slides, I look at it more in terms of there's 3 bases that you need to touch in every conversation. And if that conversation is 60 seconds long or 60 minutes long, you need to touch these 3 bases. So that means that if your presentation is a structure of 3 parts, how many slides you use depends on how deep you can go in each of these 3 sections. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the framework that we design is what we call flexible slide framework, or flexible conversational presentation framework, that allows salespeople who love this, by the way, a way to present naturally, be themselves, and really connect deeply with their customer story.
That's awesome. So keep the presentation around 17 minutes is the sweet spot, but then also obviously be flexible based on the situation. Be flexible based on the conversation. You might be talking to the board of Apple. It's going to be a different conversation. You're talking to a local restaurant owner.
Yeah, right. But the 3 parts, the 3 stool legs need to be in place. And about slides for a minute, a lot of people say, I don't want to use slides. Slides are bad. So I'll just have a conversation. And while that could work, that works better in person than if you're remote and talking to people via the web, because they can be looking at email, looking at their phone, planning their kids' birthday party, and you don't know if they're actually engaging with what you're talking about. So slides could actually help you anchor your conversational presentation if the slides are very visual and help you tell the story. And so that's what Pitch Kitchen focuses on, is not just designing the story and the structure from a content perspective, but also designing them as to what they should look like. So I like to think that Steve Jobs is looking over my shoulder from heaven or wherever he exists right now to put his blessing on the slides. Every slide that my team produces, like what would Steve Jobs say? WWSJS. What would Steve Jobs say about this slide that we've designed for this client in helping them tell the story?
Fascinating.
Visuals really, really help in helping not just the presenter stay focused on the structure of the conversation, but it helps their audience stay on point.
That's awesome. I was just reading a book. Have you heard about the $1 Trillion Coach?
No.
Bill Campbell. He's a coach for Apple, Facebook, Google, Google. Yeah. And it's just very interesting because he was one of the people that came up with that very iconic ad campaign where we've probably all seen it. It's like the number 1 advertising campaign in history for their, back in the day when you have all these people watching this, kind of the screen, and the chick takes the hammer and sends it through the screen and breaks it. And I don't know if
right. I remember that commercial.
But it was very interesting because Steve Jobs loved that story. But because this gentleman was the head of marketing at Apple, when he took this idea to their agency, they hated it. And they said, hey, you know what? Because I think they were going to run into the Super Bowl, and they were seeing if they could actually get the airtime back, like find another advertiser to replace it, because they thought it was going to bomb. And he finally said the last hour or something before, he said, you know what? They did find another advertiser to take over the spot if they wanted to. But he said, you know what? F it. Let's run it. And it became the most successful, but just interesting because obviously sometimes, what you perceive as, especially in the agency world, is not necessarily the right story. Right? I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah. So who in that model knew what the right story was?
Well, I feel like the customer knew at the end of the day because it resonated with them the most, but it was Steve because he was the vision.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. And a lot of my customers have that vision as well, but it's often polluted or clouded by what I call the curse of knowledge. They know so much about their business and they spend so much investing in their software and their operations and their people and their process that they forget what the number 1 problem is that their thing helps their customers solve. So I think one of the things that Pitch Kitchen does is really help our customers see what is on the outside of their product and what the label says or should say, because our customers are kind of stuck inside the bottle, so to speak.
Right. You guys can come with that outside perspective.
Right.
And the fact that this is all you focus on is a very unique part of your business. I think that's what's going to continue to bring you more and more success as you continue to grow, is that you only focus on making their presentations better. You're not trying to get SEO or trying to do something else for them. You know what I mean? You just focus on that.
Right. Sales presentations, that's our wheelhouse. So it combines my passion for beautiful design, which comes from my background. I graduated from Cooper Union School of Art in New York City. So I'm all about simplicity and beautiful design. And it combines that passion with my years of being a salesperson.
Right.
And, if I were to say who my people are salespeople. My people are salespeople that are stuck delivering these shitty presentations that marketing sends to them that are really just brochureware. And those are my people who I know are suffering out there that I want to help. And I help them. I help their sales leaders, their CEOs, a lot of software, high-tech companies that are really, they have well-meaning marketing people, well-meaning, well-intentioned, but they really have never met a customer before, a lot of these marketing folks, and they really don't know how to design that conversation.
Yeah, they're not in the trenches with the team, the sales team, right? And they're not. They're just kind of designing something based on what they think the customer wants, as well as obviously, a lot of these agencies, they charge tenfold what they should be charging too for some of this stuff.
Right.
I remember hearing about stuff with logo designs, like these companies are paying $100,000, $200,000 for a logo. I was like, didn't Nike pay like $20 for their logo? I mean, is it really about the logo? I mean, is that it? So it's just interesting. It's just interesting in this business. You hear all sorts of different things. And, but shout out to you, my man. I think I know you're making an impact on the world, but for those, perfect kind of customers, what kind of customers do you like to work with?
Yeah. So perfect kind, I guess, software between, I'd say, 20 to 200 to 500 million that have marketing teams or marketing people, but the marketing people are busy making pretty websites and making, social stuff, and they just don't have the bandwidth or the focus to help their sales team design amazing sales presentations that are going to help them create deep connections with their customers' story. And so I think Pitch Kitchen falls into this emerging group called sales enablement, which I don't really know what sales enablement means other than just fitting somewhere in between sales and marketing, doing a job that marketing often does, but sometimes marketing doesn't know how to do or doesn't have bandwidth to do.
Or is way off the mark because, like you said, they're not making the customer the focus of the story.
Yeah,
very interesting.
You can tell the telltale. You go to most any B2B software or B2B SaaS or anyway any B2B services company. Go to their website, and it's like 9 out of 10 companies on their website, right above the fold. It's all about them. It's all about how great they are. Like, we are the leading provider of e-commerce seamless solutions that blah, blah, bullshit.
Right.
Just nobody cares. Nobody understands the gobbledygook. People just want to know, how are you going to help me in my business accomplish our goals? And very few businesses really know, in their marketing side even, how to tell that story and really make their customer that hero on the marketing side. So I should just say that a lot of our clients, after we're done with developing their story and their sales presentation, it bleeds right over into a wireframe design with words they should be using on their website that makes their customer the hero.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So they correlate together.
For sure.
Makes sense. Well, I'm so excited for you, my man. You get to hang out with someone you've wanted to always meet today. Yeah. But now we're about to take you into our top 10. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Instagram or Twitter?
Neither.
Chicken, steak, or fish?
Chicken.
Laptop or iPhone?
iPhone.
Spotify or Pandora?
iTunes.
Oh, nice. Okay. Movies or video games?
Movies.
Reading books or listening to books?
Listening to books.
Stocks, crypto, or real estate?
My own business.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. Oceans or lakes?
Oceans.
Yeah, we just talked about that, right?
Yes.
Nothing like a beautiful ocean. So right now, what is a dying question that you want to ask your man Kevin Kelly? What is something that you were just like, I got to ask him if I can?
Yeah, so I've spent. Oh, thank you for asking me.
I bet, dude.
I'm about to go into tears right now as you're prepping me for this lunch I'm about to have. So, wow. So he writes about where things are headed,
right?
And he talks about the quantified self and how technology is with iWatches and Apple Watches, and just technology is learning what we do, and more than we know, like what we do. It's analyzing our behavior and our what we say, what we do, and learning, like, what does the algorithm say about what we want and who we are. And so he writes a lot about this. But if you follow where this is all headed in the next, say, 30 years, the question that I want to ask him is about, is he positive? Is he looking at the future optimistically, that this is a good thing for humanity to live in partnership with artificial intelligence, or is this a bad thing? Ooh. Is this going to go south in really bad ways, as we see in a lot of movies?
Right.
So I want to hear from him. Why is he an optimist about the future? Because I know that he is.
So he is optimistic.
Yes.
You feel that?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, because there's so many different points of view. Yeah. You see the movies, you see this doom and gloom. The robots have taken over. We're now just like in a dump trash.
Yeah.
We're like basically part of the trash that they're throwing out. And then you got the other side where you hear that, with AI and things like that, that the lifestyles of all incomes will go up. Basically people will be able to afford more things. The product costs on certain things will go down, just like you see with technology, just like you see with, a flat screen TV, right? I mean, It used to cost you 10 grand, 10 years ago. And now it's like, $100, $500.
Yeah.
And then also I think the biggest impact personally, just from my own perspective, is transportation costs to get things places. It's like a gallon of milk might be cheaper in the future if they can transport it using AI and robotics and self-driving. And therefore your gallon of gas or your gallon of gasoline or milk or your piece of bread or whatever that is now, let's just say $1, might be 50 cents in the future. Because of the transportation costs. I mean, especially we work with some produce companies and agriculture. I mean, there's a lot of transportation costs that goes into moving chicken breasts across the country. It's insane. And so when you break it down that way, I think that's where we thrive the most, because everyone has to eat. Everyone has to drink water.
Everyone has to eat.
Everyone has to eat and drink water. I mean, no matter how much you make an artificial something for this, but you still got to eat or drink. Otherwise you're gone. You know what I mean? So I think that's personally the biggest impact that I think that it will be in the better part of it, is that the transportation costs of goods is going to go down. Hopefully, that's what they project.
I mean, that's a real positive view of the future. And I think we struggle to look out at movies that we see that depict a positive view of the future. I mean, most of it's just dystopian. And then Kevin Kelly says that a lot of it, the reason why it's dystopian is because that's entertaining. That's, it's the drama.
Yeah.
But he said, if you look at history, those dystopians don't last too long before you get sort of organized crime, and then before you know it, you got a government in place. So, and then things get back to normal, and then it's boring again. You can't make a movie about that. But I mean, he says since Star Trek, there hasn't really been a story about a future that he would want to live in. And that's kind of interesting. What about you? Have you thought about a movie that depicts, Travis, a future that you would want to live in?
I always thought, what was that one movie? It was a Mission Impossible. It was another one with I can't think of it now. It's Tom Cruise. It's a famous movie that had, computers that were like all high tech.
Minority Report.
Minority Report. Yes. You know what? I always thought that movie was very cool because of the things that you can do with technology.
Right.
And I look at it that way personally. I mean, I don't have the dystopian view of it going to be negative. I hope that, I just bought Uber stock this morning at $42 for, on the IPO.
Nice.
I hope that Uber, in 20 years is a much bigger company due to robotics and technology, and due to the fact that maybe people are going to be less and less buying vehicles and able to use this, as well as Uber Eats and Uber Air and Uber Flight,
Uber
and
Air. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I just recently saw some stuff that they're, going to be, big drones, like you're going to hop on an Uber drone and just fly to work. Especially you guys out there in NYC where you have such bad traffic.
Oh man, yeah. No, I'm an optimist too about the future, like you, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way to live, personally.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can live negatively. There's all sorts of negative stuff. You just pull up any of your news sites and you'll see that. But I think that the future's bright, man. I really do, and I'm interested. Maybe in a follow up, I'll even a little quick email to the insights that you had on this lunch today. If you were to sit down today for your favorite meal, what would it be? If you were to have lunch with Kevin, you could pick any meal it would be. What would it be?
Well, it's funny because I'm bringing lunch to the meeting.
Oh, you're bringing lunch. Nice.
But it's not my favorite lunch. I stopped in a local restaurant here in Pacifica. But if I were to have any lunch at all, if I were to sort of, press a couple buttons, I think it would be, gosh, I'm looking at the ocean right now. I'm feeling like a lobster roll.
Ooh, there you go. Do you have a good spot that you like to get them out in NYC?
Well, in the tip of Long Island is a little town called Montauk. I don't know if you've ever been. Montauk, Long Island. And so certainly you get some good lobster out in Montauk.
Oh, I bet. Now, right now, is there a skill that you're wanting to master? Is there something you're working at, Greg, that you're like, I got to get better at this?
Yeah, so I'm a student of improv comedy in New York City.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I show up to classes on Wednesday night with a troupe of wild and crazy people where I'm learning how to listen better and to contribute to the crazy realities that we create on stage. And there's a lot of application applied insight to business that improv has around listening and contributing to people's visions of possible futures.
I've always loved improv too.
Yeah.
There's that show where those guys, whose line is it anyways? I always love that show too, because there's like, these guys are just making this stuff on the go. It's so cool.
On the go.
And you're right, because it is listening. They have to be listening to the cues of what's being said, the audience, the other person that's acting out right there. And then they have to be acting out within, seconds, something that they didn't plan.
Yeah, no, I'm learning that, and I want to learn more of that and learn to work that muscle of listening and responding.
Right. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite app or tool that you like using on a daily basis?
Yes, there's two. One is X.AI.
X.AI.
X.AI is a AI automatic scheduler that I use to book most of my meetings. So in 2018, X.AI, Amy, it was a robot, booked about 1,222 meetings for me in 2018. And there's about 5 or 6 glitches that people kind of freaked out where maybe Amy got all Skynet on them. But most of the meetings went off like without a hitch. So Amy is like Alexa, where you just copy Amy on intent that you want to meet. Yeah, let's meet next week. Let's schedule a Zoom call next Thursday at 2:00, and Amy goes at it and then books it in everyone's calendar. That's probably the biggest productivity enhancer. It saved me every week about 8 to 10 hours a week, just going back and forth, email ping pong.
Right.
Hey, when do you want to meet? 6:00. Oh, that doesn't work for me. What about this time? And I hate doing that work. I mean, what a time suck that is. So that is the biggest productivity improvement of 2018 and now in 2019 for sure is X.AI. The next thing I use daily is Toby. Toby is a Chrome extension. Have you heard of Toby before?
No, I haven't. Toby
is a Chrome extension that allows you to keep in buckets different browser windows assigned to different projects that you're working on. Because you know how if you look at your browser right now, I mean, Travis, how many windows do you have open?
It can be like 10, 20.
10, yeah. And then if you close one, like what did I have open and how do I get there? And so Toby is a great Chrome extension that really saves me a lot of time, where I put into buckets different projects and different mindsets. that on one click, I can open up a series of 10, 12 browsers that are already preset based on a certain project, a certain thing I'm working on.
Oh, that's cool. So if we were doing like an ads campaign or something, it would open up all the ads managers we need. If it would open up the reporting tools we need in one click, it would just open up all these tabs.
Right. And associated emails, associated other, files or Dropbox or, Google Drive, all those links, you can save them in little buckets. And so that's
cool.
a huge, it is like one of the biggest productivity enhancers that me and my team have, because you can also share those buckets with each other on the team.
So it's Toby. Is it Toby? Is that how you spell it?
Just to go type in Toby Chrome, and you'll
check
see
that
it's an
out.
extension. So X.AI also has an extension for Chrome and an app, which is super useful. So I think those two are really useful for everyone. I would recommend.
And shout out to you for not being afraid to use that stuff, because I know I've come across guests, and I have actually came across this tool as well. And then I'm like, do I need to use this thing? And then, like you said, you save so much time that you it's ridiculous not to use it, right?
Right. No, but it takes some experimentation.
So play around with it and see how you feel about it. And
with X.AI in particular, how, like, I don't know if you have Alexa in your house or Siri or use Siri or whatever, but I think the people who figure out how to talk to the machines and use the machines are the ones that are successful with them. You learn how to speak to them and how to work with them.
Right.
And I think that in the future, that those are going to be the skills that separate the people that are really successful in business and people who aren't, is how well they work with bots and how well they work with tools.
That's a great point. That's another really great point to your conversation too. Is that going to be the new superpower?
Well, it is, because these are enhanced human capabilities.
Yeah.
And in the future, your resume, like, how well do you work with software, and how well do you work with these human enhancements?
Right.
And I think that's certainly where the future is headed.
Oh, that's a great point. Do you have a book outside the one that you mentioned here with Kevin Kelly that has also changed your life?
Yes. Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Have you read that?
Oh, I've heard about this one. I have not read it. Naval.
Mind-blowing. Woo! Like, I was basically, my brains had been exploded all over the dashboard, because of course, like you, I listened to Audible. And Yuval Noah Harari in the book Sapiens takes us through the whole history of the world in the last 10,000 years. And basically puts the big picture in view of where we've come from, where we're headed, and why we are the way we are today. And you would love it.
I'm gonna get that on my Audible, man. I love that. That's super interesting. And the cool thing about Audible is you just go find it, and then next thing you know, when you're driving or you're at the gym or you're doing something where you can't be necessarily reading a book,
right?
Audible it, man. You learn so much.
Another book I just finished on Audible is called Moonwalking with Einstein. It's by Josh Foer, who was a journalist who was fascinated with memory champions, people who have this seemingly gift to memorize amazing amounts of information, like 5 decks of cards in order that you're showing it to them. And so he interviewed a couple of these people and realized that it's a technique that can be learned. And he learned the technique from 1 or 2 of these champions. And in 2006, he actually competed in a memory champion competition and won in the United States as the memory champion. So in the book, he takes us through how to memorize and remember things in a way using visual, what the human brain is already designed to do well, which is spatial navigation and visualization. And those are 2 things that are close to my heart, because when we're designing sales presentations, it's all about designing visuals that help people remember bits of conversation.
Yeah, so it sticks out in their head after you've talked to them. You're like, I got to get back on the phone with Greg, man. I got to get this sales presentation going here. That's interesting. I wonder if the Jeopardy winner right now, James, he's been on fire. He's got like $1.5 million. He's like, it's unbelievable how he's like wiping them all out with this. He's got some sort of technique he's using.
Well, yeah, no, there's a technique, and I've learned a little bit, but it's like any sport, like any thing, it takes practice.
Anyone
can learn it. So, Travis, thank you.
Absolutely, my man. We are almost wrapped up with the show. Do you have one last real talk thought for our listeners?
Last thought. Oh, I think last thought is I am humbled and honored to be alive. And I think last thought is there's no guarantees in life. Today could be our last day. And last thought here I have is to just be grateful for the people in our lives and for being alive.
Well, shout out to you, my man, for going for your dreams and helping businesses take their crappy presentations and make them into conversations. And hey, most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful lunch today with your idol, Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you. That's a blessing. Folks, you've been hanging out with Greg Rosner and Travis Too Tall and Huff. I want to thank you again for your time today, and let's keep being real. What another epic episode. And if you enjoyed the episode today, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to our podcast, The Be Real Show, on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and also take a little time today, if you don't mind, and give your boy T Huff a review. I would really super appreciate it, and thank you so much for listening today.